Modern gaming is absolutely incredible. Gaming in general has never even been this powerful, this seamless, or this integrated into our daily lives. And whether it's your phone, your laptop, your video game console, or even your smart fridge, you can somehow find a way to play video games on it. Not to mention, some of my favorite games of all time have been released within the past 5 years, like Ghost of Tsushima, Baldur's Gate 3, Balatro, Team Fortress 2. Okay, maybe not Team Fortress 2, but this game is still incredible and one of the greatest games of all time, so I refuse to believe that it could ever die. And all of this modern greatness does come with a price, and I'm not just talking about the $70 price tag. Or wait, sorry, the $80 price tag. Games are now massive, like 100 gigabytes type of massive, and it's very common for things to take forever to download. Launching a game requires you to open the launcher that will then launch you into another launcher that then lets you launch into the third launcher that lets you then update the game. Physical media is basically dying off because companies are pushing digital more than ever, and even if you buy the disc, you're going to be required to update it and connect to the internet, so what's the point of buying the disc anyway, because it doesn't even matter. We're getting bombarded with microtransactions, battle passes, notifications. So yes, gaming has evolved, but not every aspect of it feels like progress. And at the risk of sounding like a 25-year-old experiencing a quarter-life crisis because he's for the first time realizing that he's getting older and all the systems and institutions around him have started to change, therefore implying that one day he will also return to the soil that created him, I would like to remind all of us that we can, in fact, return to a much simpler time. Retro games. Now, retro is a very subjective term, but I'm just going to stick to the rule of thumb that anything that is 2 console generations back would be considered retro. So we just got the Switch 2, so that means the Switch is not retro yet, but the Wii U and the 3DS, those things are starting to show some gray hairs alongside the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Yes, we're all getting very old. I've been obsessed with retro games since I was in middle school trying to buy my very first Xbox original, and then that would lead me to go on to buy things like the Superboy that is like a handheld SNES portable gaming disaster. And I'm here to tell you that right now is literally the perfect time to dive back into the retro catalog. So whether or not you're a veteran or a newcomer, I'm going to show you why this hobby is so powerful, so beautiful, and how it actually has been saving my relationship with gaming. Okay, so we are slowly approaching 1 whole year here on this channel for isaacOS. I have been working nonstop like every single day on these videos, and I actually can't believe that it's gone by this fast. I've been making these videos alone here. I write and film and script and edit all of these videos by myself in this room here, which actually used to be like attached to the garage, and I live in Arizona, so it gets so hot in here. But anyway, my dream is to somehow, some way turn this into my job. I don't know if that's possible, but if I could do this full time and just focus only on making videos, I would be so happy, and that is my goal. And in order to support that, I've actually been designing and making some clothes. I've been designing these things for the past month or 2, and I think they're really clean, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. And if you want to support the channel, please consider checking out the disc tee or the CRT cap, or potentially just buying some stickers. Anything and everything that I make from these clothes will go directly back into the videos, and it will actually aid in supporting my goal of somehow turning this into my job. If you want to support the channel and get some fresh clothes, please go to isaacOS.net. Again, just thank you so much for being here and even supporting. We've gotten so advanced now with our technology and processing power that you can play retro games on anything. Phones, laptops, PCs, dedicated handhelds. If your device was made, especially within the past few years, chances are it can run a huge chunk of retro games, and that is the beauty of it. These games are smaller, less demanding, and don't require a high-end GPU just to boot it up. Unless it's a really odd one like Star Wars Rogue Squadron or some peculiar PS2 game, odds are you're going to be able to emulate it. And if you're just now getting into the hobby or you want to revisit some of your childhood favorites, all you need is a decent smartphone. Playing games on your smartphone now is usually the way to go for most people who are just now entering this hobby, and with the recent releases on iOS, it's more accessible than ever. Touchscreen controls can be limiting, but if you're playing something slower paced like a JRPG, it works fine. And if you want to splurge a little bit, you can just buy one of these cheap little controller clips and then boom, boom, you've got a dedicated handheld designed for gaming and emulating things on your phone, and it only cost you like 10 bucks on Amazon. It's the same situation now with PCs. If you've got a recent laptop or a somewhat modern computer in your family room, in your own room, wherever you are, you should have access to some solid performance for playing retro games. And if you don't have a PC, dude, just go to the library. You could literally walk in here and set things up and get yourself going with a couple of retro games, and it doesn't even cost you anything. All you have to do is have a membership to your local library. And then if you dig to the next layer, there's the handheld boom that has been exploding all over the place. Steam Decks, ROG Allies, MSI Claws, they're not just modern powerhouses. With a little bit of tinkering, a little bit of customization, these things can not only play and destroy some AAA games, but also become your retro handheld go-tos. And if this isn't enough, then you can peel the onion back even more and buy a dedicated retro handheld. These things are built specifically for retro games, so it feels a little bit more authentic. There's no distractions, no notifications. It's just pure nostalgia oozing out of the device. You've got controls that are actually built in here to the screen instead of just a smartphone with a controller. You've got usually better screens that are designed for gaming, and also form factors that will hit you with a crazy amount of nostalgia that will make you feel super old, like this one, the RG34XX. And you don't even have to go this route and buy anything new or download something on your smartphone. You can literally just dust off your old hardware, and for the most part, if you can get past maybe a couple of bad screens or some outdated hardware that feels old, you can still re-experience a lot of these fantastic titles. And if you dabble into modding, you can actually elevate the value of these consoles and systems by tenfold and give you access to so much more. Like, look at the 3DS. Once you mod this, it knocks open so many different doors, and it basically gives the 3DS a sensu bean, and it just evolves into something new where you can do almost anything. Modding and tinkering for so many people is the only reason why they're even in this hobby, because it's that much fun. Personalizing a device, setting it up, adjusting and adding different features that you want, maybe removing some features, messing with the firmware. All of these things add to the experience of retro gaming. Now, contrary to popular belief, my favorite thing about retro games isn't actually the games themselves, but instead it's the options that we have and how we play these games. Besides just playing regular retro games, we have the option now, because of the beautiful, amazing communities all across the catalog, to play ROM hacks, reinterpretations, remasters, and full-on remakes of our childhood favorite games. This is like seeing something that you loved as a kid getting taken by another person that loved it, remaking it, and creating something completely new and sometimes even better than the original product. Mario Eclipse is a recent example of a game that absolutely transformed Mario Sunshine into something completely new and honestly even better. It's a full fan-made rework of Sunshine, complete with new characters, 120 new shines, new mechanics, and a custom soundtrack. It is bonkers that there's people who have been developing and creating this for years. Sonic MegaMix is a complete overhaul of the original Sonic the Hedgehog. It adds new music, faster physics, newer characters like Shadow, and it just revamps the original game. And I believe even one of the developers who worked on MegaMix went on to help with Sonic Mania, which is just absurd. And don't even get me started on Pokémon ROM hacks, baby. Pokémon Unbound literally feels like some type of game that was a mainline Pokémon game and you never played it as a kid, and you're just now finding out that it exists, and you're going back and replaying and starting up a brand new classic original game, but it's actually fan-made. And this is just one area and one method of playing your original games in a different way. There's also things like speedrunning, which if you're not tapped into the speedrunning community, you know, it's a little overwhelming at first, but trust me, watch some Super Mario 64 speedruns and you will become a fan. Playing your favorite retro games is fun and all, but then you slap a timer onto it and things immediately change. The vibe is different, you feel the pressure, and now you're racing against the clock. Not to flex on you or anything, but I do actually have a sub-hour speedrun record in Mario 64 70 star, so I think I deserve a like on this video.
Let's
go, bro. Oh my God. And I haven't even mentioned HD texture packs or widescreen mods that make all of these older games look so dang good. I mean, look at this. Animal Crossing for the GameCube with HD texture packs and a widescreen mod. Oh. When you were a kid, you were just mashing buttons and drooling over your PSP. Or if you owned Pokemon Ranger, you were destroying your touchscreen. Now that we actually have fully formed brains, we have the ability to see the little details and the design mechanics and understand, most importantly, the storyline of a lot of our favorite childhood games. Being able to see the little details like the level design or the hidden themes, and most importantly, actually understanding the storyline of a lot of these games is so incredible if you revisit them as an adult. One of my favorite games as a kid was Mega Man Battle Network, but I was like 6 and I had no clue what was going on, so I was just spamming battle chips and vibing out. But I recently revisited this game 20 years later, and dude, okay, massive spoiler alert, but Mega Man in this game is actually the main character Land's twin brother who died when they were younger, and then their father took his DNA and embedded it into like the digital ecosystem and created Mega Man. So one of my favorite childhood characters that I grew up with, Mega Man from the Battle Network series, was actually just my dead sibling. Retro games are the foundation of the games that we're playing today. It's like you listen to a song that just got released and you really enjoy it, only to realize that it's sampling an older song. So then you go back to the source and realize that that original song is actually way better than anything else you've ever heard. And sometimes you'll even go back to a game that you loved only to realize that it's terrible. I used to be obsessed with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and I still love it to this day, but replaying it lately has not been the most fun experience. Turns out I spent like 95% of my childhood just in the Chow Garden messing around here, and then the other 5% I was just salivating over Rouge. Some people do get really sad and just emotional whenever they go back and revisit their childhood games, only to realize that it was not nearly as much fun as they had previously remembered. But to me, that's actually a really cool thing, and it shows a sign of growth. It shows that you have changed as a human, which is a blessing, that we've even lived long enough to develop different tastes and different things that we like and preferences. And on top of that, you could also flip the coin and probably discover a retro game that you thought you didn't like as a kid, but if you revisit it now, you might enjoy it even more. There's always something to discover here, and playing retro games, I'm telling you, is like walking through a museum of history, and it's right there in your pocket. Social media and all of this digital noise, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, I think is genuinely the biggest problem leading to all of our mental health issues and just so much anxiety, which has actually pulled me more towards retro games than anything else in my life because they are offline. If you're using a dedicated retro handheld specifically, there's no battle passes, there's no notifications, there's no noise. It's all just so quiet and so peaceful. And when you're playing these games, there's no online matchmaking. It's literally just you and the story, and that's it. And it's a very simple and obvious observation, but it's one of the biggest reasons why I truly gravitate so much towards this technology. And it's also why if I ever have children, I'm going to give them things that are offline, like a DS or a Game Boy or just a new retro handheld that can't connect to the internet, because I think this is the healthiest way to have any type of relationship with technology. We shouldn't be exposed to like 45 OnlyFans accounts constantly spamming us and everything that's going on in politics. And literally I log on to Twitter and I see somebody like dying in the first 3 seconds. It's a mess, dude. Literally just go outside, don't bring your phone, and just grab some type of older retro device or a retro handheld or something that's offline and hang out. play some games, enjoy the nature. And the irony here is that video games and all of these things used to be said like, oh, you're gonna waste your life, don't let them play video games so much. And they were roasting me as a kid, I remember, for playing things like the Game Boy Advance so much. And then nowadays, I actually think that these items and these tools is the bridge back to peaceful existence where you don't have to worry about the notifications. It's like this weird thing where it actually led to a lot of problems, but now it's the solution to get back to just peace and quiet. And finally, one of the best parts about retro games is rebuilding your collection. Curating a personal catalog of classics that means something to you personally. It's a lot more than buying stuff, in my opinion. It's really about building a personal museum, a personal catalog that represents you and your taste and your opinion, and also shows off your childhood. Unless you were like me and you sold every game that you owned to GameStop so that they could rip you off and scam you, you probably already have a pretty decent collection just collecting dust. And right now I'm in the middle of rebuilding my childhood collection. I just finished collecting the last DS model, the DSi, that now completes my system of DS handhelds. And this took me a while because, you know, these things are expensive and it does take a long time to pull the trigger on anything that is more than a couple of bucks. Taking the time and finding prices that are actually affordable and are good deals is seriously so rewarding, and that is truly, in my opinion, where the dopamine comes from collecting any retro video game system or console or game. We're in such a rare moment in gaming where modern games are bigger and flashier and more accessible than ever, but we've also unlocked the keys to the past with this newer technology. And my message here isn't to just ditch the future and reject modern games, but instead try and blend both, because I think a lot of people are missing that beautiful balance whenever you can play the newest releases that you've been looking forward to, but also have things that you're enjoying that are in the past that you don't have to spend buttloads of money on, and you can go back and rediscover the classics, the foundation, and something that's a little bit slower paced. It's seriously, that is where things all start to blend together and feel like, I don't know, you're in this weird state of equilibrium within gaming. So I definitely recommend taking the leap if you haven't already, reconnecting, rediscovering what made you fall in love with games in the first place. Because right now is the perfect time to play some dang retro games.
I can see the whole future from right where I'm sitting. The ball's main stage in the village still hitting. The odds stay in the game, but I'm still trying to sub it. In my dreams exhale to more to make a living, type funds on my back.